themselves out on their side, so they can type and play on their computer and do whatever, and we won't have background.
Okay. Let's see. Everybody is muted now. Okay. So that is a little bit about me and about what we're going to do today. JoJo's going to be doing most of the talking because she is a nutritionist. She has a lot of background, and she put together a slide for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start us with just a little meditation to just kind of bring our energies back here. That's one of the things that's kind of my forte. If I could make a living just doing meditations, that's what I would do forever and ever and ever. And so it's really fun. So I start all of my work with little prayers and meditations. So let's everybody just take a nice deep breath and just bring your energy in. Go ahead and close your eyes just for a minute. And just taking a nice deep breath, just pull your energy back from wherever you were today. Like maybe you're out running around, maybe you got up drinking your coffee this morning. Maybe you even had to work or do errands. Whatever that was, just bring your energy back. And you do but that by opening your imagination, opening your mind, and just seeing your energy coming back to you. And see that energy coming back to you as brilliant white light. And you can just feel as it returns to you, as your body begins to feel more present. You begin to feel more in yourself. And I invite each of you to take a minute and feel your feet. And just feel your feet. Where are they? Are they there on the ground? Are you sitting cross-legged? Wherever your feet are. When you feel your feet, you pull your energy, you ground yourself in. For good health, it's so important to be in your body. So many of us leave our body because we're under stress. Our physical body is uncomfortable, and we actually get out of our body. Our energy leaves our body. And so we want to bring ourselves into our body because we're going to start working with our body. We're going to start being one with our body, with the cells of our body, and help ourselves start healing. So I invite all of you to take another nice deep breath, just breathing in. And I invite you to open your minds, open your hearts, and now open your imaginations. And I want you to imagine that you could feel every cell in your body. Just feel every single one of those teeny tiny little guys in there. And just in your mind, send every one of those cells your love. Just say, I love you. Just say, I love you to the cells of your body. And I love you. And today, we're going to learn how to be healthy in a new way. We're going to learn how to feed and take care of these little cells. Just tell your cells again, I love you. I'm here for you. Today, we're going to get healthy. We're going to get healthy. And then just take another nice deep breath, breathing in. And as you breathe out, just smile. Just take a minute and smile. And just feel how your energy is lifted. Feel how your heart stays open. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead, open your eyes. And we'll get started with our presentation. So JoJo, I turn it over to you. Would you introduce yourself?
I sure will. Thank you so much for that, Michele. That was lovely. It's like, all my cells feel very yummy right now. So, hi everyone. Thanks for being here on Saturday. And I know that if you're here now on a Saturday morning, afternoon, whatever it is for you, that you are in search of something. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I'm just going to flip over and share my screen, and we can just get started. So obviously, as we go along, we've already just done our little yummy minute meditation to help us be open and learn something new. And just want to extend to you the feeling of hopefulness as we go forward. And thanks to the lovely Michele for coming into my world. Is there any coincidences? I don't think so. Accidentally, we met on Facebook, and strangely enough, over Christmas time, she gifted me with a Merry Christmas session. And that has kind of been our road. We have been working together since then and have realized that we're probably here for a bigger purpose in helping others heal, not only mentally, spiritually, but also physically. And so she's got an amazing background and education, and she's just a bright, shining light in this world. And I have been working in nutrition for 13 years, came from the business world, had my own businesses, and grew up in Las Vegas, so it was also a blackjack dealer. So I've done lots of interesting, strange things in my life, but really now I'm working in the realm of healing and helping to empower women, which is one of my big passions. And so before we go forward today, I just want to share, that we're not here to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent anything. This is all for training purposes. We believe that the body is the miracle. We just need to give it the right things in order for the body to be able to heal itself. And so we've been talking a lot about chronic inflammation and chronic discomfort. And I don't know if anybody was on our little Facebook Live that we did on Tuesday. So this will be a little bit of a recap for you. And if you haven't, then this will be a little new. But what we're going to really do is talk about some of the things that we found. So let's talk about the problem. Let's talk about what can potentially relieve it. And let's talk about the things that we found to be able to do that. And so on the bottom of your screen, if you scroll your mouse over, you'll see that you guys should be able to comment. I'm not sure that you can get that on a screen share, but you should be able to. And so if you need to make comments or you need to ask questions, you can type them in there. And if not, at some point, we'll come to a point where we can stop and do some questions. But in talking about chronic discomfort and chronic inflammation, we know that so many people are suffering. And inflammation, I'm talking out of control, chronic inflammation is the reason behind that. But did you actually know that there is a syndrome? It's called Tito's syndrome. It's actually a thing, right? It's one of those things that it's deficiency, toxicity, deficiency, obesity, and stress. So that's where the Tito's comes from. And all of those things have a huge effect on how our body deals with chronic discomfort, chronic inflammation, metabolic syndrome as the body starts to break down. So let's just go back to the beginning and say, what is inflammation? Because not all inflammation is bad. There is good inflammation. It is really our body's natural immune response to an infection or trauma. So if you think about if you've ever broken an ankle or sprained an ankle or fell on your wrist and it swelled up, or you got a rash or a sore throat, that's all an immune response. That's all inflammation that your body's coming to your natural defense with the inflammation to try and heal you. When that goes out of control, so when your immune function gets overactive, it creates too much inflammation. So if we think about like allergies and autoimmune disorders and asthma and things like that, that's when our bodies are starting to really create too much inflammation. And then when it's out of control, like it's running amok all over the place, totally out of control, we get into heart disease, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, things like that are really depression. It's a huge one because as our inflammation goes out of control, our gut health goes out of control. And, once upon a time, we used to think that this thing ran everything. But now what we're learning is that our gut health, our little bugs and bacteria, our little friends inside of our gut, our microbiome actually runs that runs everything. So when that is out of balance, I can almost see it in every situation where there's some sort of mental neurological disorder that if we go back to gut health, we see that there's also something going on there, right? Everything's connected. The knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. It's all connected in some way. So the growing inflammation really is what destroys our system. And it robs our body of being able to function at an optimal level. It also, unfortunately, increases the rate at which we're aging, because nobody wants to age any faster than we're aging, right? 1 year a year is good, but as our bodies start to degenerate, we're aging more years a year than just one. 5 years a year, 10 years a year. And it also increases the oxidation in our system. So when you think about oxidation, like think about a rusty nail, right? That's been exposed to water and it starts to really rust and break down. And that's what's happening on the inside of our system. Not a pretty picture. But what causes inflammation? Like, where does it start? So we know that toxicity is a huge issue. Everything around us is toxic. Our food is lacking minerals, but it's also got, pesticides and chemicals and herbicides and fungicides and side all over it. And do you know what side means in Latin? Do you know what it equals? Death. So we are spraying death on our food, and then that's what we're eating. So when you think of it that way, it doesn't sound so appealing anymore. So even organic stuff doesn't really have the nutrients anymore that it used to. But everything has toxicity to it. Even my phone, this computer, everything off gases some sort of toxin into our system. Our bodies just weren't meant to deal with that kind of toxicity. Stress in all levels, from not eating well to overexerting ourselves to being angry all the time, to the guy that cuts us off on the road, to just never feeling comfortable in our bodies. Lack of exercise, lack of oxygen is a huge thing. Mold and allergens, and you guys can read that whole list. You can see that, we believe that sugar is good for us, but there's bad sugar. So sugar's been demonized right now because everyone's saying sugar is so bad, but we need normal, natural, good sources of glucose. I'm not talking like white table sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Those are the things that create inflammation. So artificial sweeteners and refined carbs and commercially raised meat. So things that aren't, that are raised in a pen and grain fed. So meats that aren't pasture fed, things like that. That's all creating inflammation. There's many things, but that's just a few of the icky list. But what can we do to help relieve it? So we can look at a few things, and we're going to look at clinically proven things, because what I like is that something is researched, it's proven. So not only do we have social proof, not only do we have results, but we see clinically, medically, that they are studying, looking in a laboratory at what this does to cells. That's what's important to me. And so we're going to look at telomeres and the telomerase enzyme. So if none of you have ever heard of telomeres, this will be a fun little cell biology class. Catalase enzyme, cellular detoxification, nitric oxide, and adaptogens. And these things can really spell sweet relief for your body. And so let's talk about a cell is just a cell is just a cell. So once upon a time, I used to think there was, a kidney cell and a liver cell and a heart cell and an eye cell. And that's what I thought. So something goes wrong with your kidney, then you have a kidney dysfunction because something's going wrong with the kidney cell. But what we're really coming to learn, and I will really encourage you to go watch the video, What the Cell is Going On, by Dr. Gary Tensky, who's a naturopath. He came onto my radar about 6 years ago, and he just really confirmed everything that I had sort of already been thinking, just in different terminology. It kind of gave words to my thought process, which was this: that all cells are the same. A cell is just a cell is just a cell. An eye cell, a heart cell, a lung cell, a skin cell, it's all just a cell. And what happens is something starts to go wrong normally. So this is our normal path of disease or degeneration. Something happens in the cell, and it starts to create a symptom in the body. Because of that symptom, I go to the doctor. The doctor says, well, because of this symptom, you have this thing. And then we give it a label. And so because of this label, I'm going to now give you this prescription or medication or something to deal with the symptom of what was created by the degeneration of the cell. But we're not ever treating the cell, we're just treating the symptom. And so what we want to do is really go from the causal level back into the cell level where the degeneration happened. Because all the cells are just cells. They have one little teeny bit of information that's different that tells them what their job is. Like, am I a kidney today or am I a liver, right? So the cell has that one little bit of information, but really it's just a cell. A degenerated cell is a degenerated cell. And so if we're going to look at the body from the causal level, that's where we want to really heal from. So let's talk about how important enzymes are to that process. So as an example, so you understand how important enzymes are to our system, we can live without vitamins, minerals, protein, and oil for about 3 weeks. So we can live without food for about 3 weeks. Not that we want to, but we could. If we were floating out on a raft in the ocean, we could live about 3 weeks without food. We could live about 3 days without water. We could live about 3 minutes without air, unless we're like some crazy aqua lung athlete. Let's see. Is somebody unmuted? I'm getting some feedback. Can you make sure everybody's muted? Thank you. All right. Oops. Okay. And so that with enzymes, if we had no enzyme function in our body whatsoever, all of the enzymes in our body were dead and we had no enzyme function at all, we would only live about 3 seconds. So that shows you the importance of how much we need enzymes, are not only our natural production, but outside enzymes, digestive enzymes, catalase enzymes. There's so many different ones that help our body function. And so when I talked about the speed of our aging process, I talked about telomeres. So you might have heard me mention that word earlier. And so I really want to share some information with you so you can understand what a telomere is. Because when you understand this has really changed a lot for us, because till this came on our radar, we weren't really aware of all of this. And so I want to make sure, let me make sure that this is going to play. So I'm going to plug my little speaker in here, make sure that this is going to sound right. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Recently, we have discovered that
Can you hear that?
Human aging is really pretty simple. We age because our cells divide and our telomeres get shorter.
Yes?
What's a telomere? Well, to answer that, let's zoom into a human's.
Can you guys hear that? I'm sorry. That just totally went crazy. Could you guys hear that okay? Okay, because I can't hear you when this is on. So, all right. And it's loud enough, or I need to turn it up? That's good? Turn it up more? Okay. I'm like, is that a thumbs up or a turn it up? Okay. And you guys might have to turn up on your side too. The video isn't the greatest on the Zoom platform. Let's see. Sorry. You know. All right. Let's see if we can get this going. What? That's me doing that. Let's try one more time. Okay. Stop it.
Recently, we have discovered that the science of human aging is really pretty simple. We age because our cells divide and our telomeres get shorter. What's a telomere? Well, to answer that, let's zoom into a human's 100 trillion cells. Every cell contains a nucleus with genes and chromosomes. If you zoom in further, you see that the chromosomes are made up of DNA molecules that are 100 million bases long, coiled up like a slinky. There are long, repetitive sequences of DNA at the end of each of our chromosomes. These sequences are called telomeres. When a cell divides, the genetic material inside that cell needs to be copied. This is called DNA replication. During this process, enzymes that replicate a strand of DNA are unable to continue replicating all the way to the end, which causes the loss of some DNA. And the ends, if you remember, are where the telomeres are. At birth, we have about 10,000 bases. But as we age and our cells divide again and again, we lose those bases. And at 5,000 bases, we begin to die of old age. As telomeres get shorter, humans begin to experience the general effects of aging. Loss of muscle, failing memory, poor eyesight, lack of energy, and slower recovery after exercise. The bottom line is this: when cells divide, telomeres shorten. And bad things happen when telomeres get short. Research we completed in 1997 established that humans also have an enzyme called telomerase that can lengthen telomeres. This research was so significant that in 2009, it was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. I lead a team of scientists pursuing this line of research, and we are virtually the only scientists pursuing it. Our recent collaboration with John Anderson's 30 years of formulating experience is yielding results beyond anything we have ever experienced. It won't be surprising to see many companies trying to enter this space and begin marketing products touted to support telomeres. But I know from my research, not all telomere products are the same.
Okay, so that's just kind of an overview of what a telomere is. So pretty interesting. Have you ever heard of that before? It's such cool science, and we've been able to. We initially learned all of this from Bill, which is kind of cool because he's the big molecular biologist behind all that, and so he's a little sort of humble in that video because he's the one who won the Nobel Prize for discovering the telomerase enzyme inside the human body. So just to recap, right, we're born with 10,000 bases. As our cells replicate over and over and over, we lose a little bit of that information, and we die at about 5,000 bases. And the bad things that happen when telomeres get short, and what's interesting is that, when we say a cell is just a cell, and everybody's a little bit different because as we age, we can see different things that happen. So let's say we put, if we put 50 50-year-olds in a room, would they all look the same and be aging the same? Would they all have the same amount of gray hair or diminishing eyesight or hearing or degenerative diseases? No, they wouldn't. Everybody's a little bit different because everyone's telomeres are shortening in their cells in a different way. So mine may be my kidney. Michele, yours may be your eyes. And we don't know that, right? But we just know that we're aging at a different rate in our different cells, right? So not only do we start to see the physical pieces, right, the wrinkles and the poor eyesight, definitely we see loss of memory. What did I just say? We see loss of memory and the skeletal atrophy and things like that. But we also see the degenerative issues. So some of the ones that we were talking about in the beginning. And we know that. So if you think about it, and I love this analogy because it's really simple. If you lost the tip of your shoestring, what would happen to your shoestring, right? It would start to fray. Same thing happens as we lose our telomere. The DNA starts to fray. And it gets to a point actually where it can no longer replicate because it's frayed so much. But we accelerate this process every day by that stuff that we talked about at the beginning that creates all that inflammation. A lot of those lifestyle choices are actually accelerating our telomere loss. So actually accelerating our aging process. So if we knew that, I could maybe meditate every day like we just did, and I could reduce my stress level and potentially slow the acceleration process of how my telomeres are shortening, that would be a good thing, right? So DNA replication. So when you think about and that's how the cell cycle goes, is we have a cell that's already existing and it starts its cycle around its life cycle. It gets to a point down sort of about the middle where it replicates itself, and then it creates a new cell. That's how every cell works. Some cells, we have 100, I don't know, they're saying 160 trillion cells right now. About 1 billion replicate every minute. That's a lot of cells replicating every minute. So do we want to be replicating healthy cells, or do we want to be replicating cells that are not healthy? So that's an interesting thought process of, when you start to eat something is what do I want this to replicate in my body? Or when you're really stressed out of what this is doing to our system. But as we, each time that cycle goes around, that telomere gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter every single time that cell divides. And we start to see that the cell phrase, that's a really interesting picture of how DNA sort of falls apart. But it's pretty accurate of how it happens. And it will actually get to a point where the cell can no longer divide, and that's called cell senescence, or the death of a cell. And so when human telomerase was discovered, what was really interesting is where they discovered it. So we have the ability in all of our cells to produce this enzyme, but where it is turned on all the time is in our reproductive cells. And we knew this all along if we think about it. So each time my reproductive cells, your reproductive cells, anybody's reproductive cells divide, their telomeres never shorten. And here's why. So think about when I have a baby at 40, is my baby born brand new, or is my baby born at 40? Well, how is that possible that a baby is born brand new if I gave it my 40-year-old cells? How could that be possible? And so we wouldn't have lived very long as a species if there wasn't a way for this process to start over new each time life was regenerated. So we never, our actual reproductive cells are considered immortal cells because the telomeres never shorten. It's funny, we go in and talk to, baby doctors, and they're like, I never thought about that. Well, I didn't know that. Like, they have no clue that that's why a baby's born brand new instead of with 40-year-old cells, right? So pretty interesting that, when you induce the telomerase in all of the cells, because all of the cells have the ability to do that we can actually stop the acceleration of the process of how our telomeres are shortening. And so they proved this in a laboratory with skin cells. So they said, if we know that this can happen in the reproductive cells, so if the body already has this ability, then we know that we can have this ability in all of our cells. So they started looking at human skin cells. And what they did was they started inducing different chemicals, compounds, things, all kinds of stuff inside of these human skin cells in a petri dish in a laboratory. And then what they would do is watch to see if the telomeres, as the cells divide, if the telomeres got shorter or longer. And so as they started finding things that could induce the telomerase, they would see that as the cells divided, that they would actually stay the same length. It was actually turning back the clock on the skin cells. So yes, and that's in a petri dish, and that's really cool. But we saw them take these compounds and actually use them in this study at Harvard. And I don't have the video up here, but I'd be glad to share it with you, of what they did. So they took those same ingredients and they used them in a study on mice, where they had prematurely aged the mice, and then as they gave them this concoction, they were able to actually reduce or reverse their aging clock. So their hair went from gray back to normal. Their brain size actually improved. Their muscular and skeletal system actually improved. So it's a pretty interesting study that Harvard did. But so what they started to do is go, okay, well, we want to be able to use these compounds, and these are the compounds that actually were used in the study. We want to be able to use these compounds in humans, but these were too toxic. So out of 304,000 different compounds that they took, injected into a human skin cell, and then watched it divide, they only found these 8. Can you imagine 304,000 times they went through that whole process and watched it, and they only found 8? And then these were too toxic to use. So they started looking for things that would be safe in the human body. And they had tried natural compounds. They even started to invent some stuff. They did all kinds of things to see what would actually induce the telomerase enzyme in the system. And then what happened was science met wellness. And you saw Bill talk about John in the video. Well, Bill was introduced to John Anderson, who is a master botanist. And they actually call him the mineral man, because he's so, his knowledge in water soluble minerals and what they do to the body is so extensive. Anyway, so these two guys get together, and they realize, John realizes what Bill's doing, and Bill realizes what John has. And so John says, hey, can I send you over some compounds to test? And Bill's like, yeah, sure. Send me some over. So John sends Bill 15 samples. Bill's like, 15? Really? We've tested 304,000. What do you think you're going to do with 15? Well, in the first 15, they got that. And so Bill was like, okay, lucky shot, right? And what was even more interesting is this is something they had tested previously. They just hadn't tested it in the way that John is able to take the individual fibers out of the ingredient and test them. On the second 15, they got that one. And then over the next 120 natural ingredients, herbs, botanicals, they got that. And then they did something that they said they thought they could never do, which was beat the test ingredients as far as when you see the lines in there, those are hit ingredients. And so you can see the lines, how high they got based on how well they helped the telomeres grow back. And so Bill told John that it was impossible, that they were never going to be able to see a large hit like that out of a botanical, but they exceeded the control group, and he couldn't believe it. And so that is what was created and put into product B, isogenesis. And so this is actually a telomere support product that has been put out. John Anderson was the master formulator for isogenics. And so Bill and John got together, and Bill will test the compounds. And so we know that this is actually working. So we know that everything that goes into the system, that goes into the product, is actually been proven through Bill's testing. And he's got the only lab, and it's in Reno, Nevada, if you're ever up there and you want to go check it out. It's called Sierra Sciences. They have the only lab and the only testing in the whole world that can actually test how the telomeres grow the way they do. Like, you can do blood testing and things like that, but this is not the same as what this can do, how they can test that. So they took it in and they did a double-blind placebo study. So do you know what that means? Like, when you go double-blind placebo? Does anybody not know? Because I want you to understand how important that is. Okay, so if you come into, we want to go have a study done, we go somewhere and we say, okay, ASU, we want you to test this. So not only does the researchers or the doctors who are putting on the test not know who has the placebo and who doesn't, but the people that are being studied also do not know. So you're just given something. So it's totally double blind. They don't know who's given what, and they just look at the results at the end. So when they went in, they were looking for at like a 3 to 5% increase in catalase enzyme. That's what they were hoping for. Well, they got a 30% increase. That was huge. And so when we talk about how important catalase enzyme is, right, big deal. We already talked about how important enzymes are, period. But what catalase enzyme does is it helps to repair every cell in the body. It's the most repairing enzyme there is. So now not only do we have telomerase that we're working with, but now we also have this catalase enzyme. So if you Googled, like you went in and Googled catalase and whatever thing, whatever label you want to give it, right? Whatever label you want to give the thing that you're going through, or you can Google catalase and that, and you'll see that there is a decrease in catalase in the body, and they will relate that to part of the reason why that thing is happening. And so when we can increase the catalase enzyme, we can essentially go to work to repair the body at the cellular level. And so as a good example of this, I want to show you Dick. So this is Dick. He lives back in Wisconsin. He's the father-in-law of my girlfriend, Amy. There's Amy and her husband, Stan. And so on the left, so the picture in the white t-shirt, Dick was 82. In the blue shirt, Dick is 83. Then the next one is 85, and this was 86. he's just turned 87, and I need to get his new picture up. But I was just telling Michele the story of how when he was back here in the white t-shirt, he was really failing. People thought that it would be best for the family for them to put him in a managed care facility. And so they wanted to put him away. And so when you see where he's at now, he's like ready to go like do a bodybuilding competition. But one of the cool things that we saw was when I was there in April, right the day before we got there, he slipped on the ice and broke his leg, and broke it bad enough that he had to have surgery. And the doctor said he was the healthiest person in the whole hospital. Not only that, but he was only there for 2 days. He was out in 2 days. He actually rolled his wheelchair into our little meeting that we did in Minnesota when we were there. And he's just like, I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he's doing really great. And can you imagine? So this guy, like the guy on the right, looks like the son of this guy, who likes the son of this guy, who looks like the son of this guy, right? It looks like 4 generations of people right there. But so when you talk about reversing the aging process, this is what we see on a regular basis. Like Karen, who, look at that, was just 3 days. She had actually called the mortuary, and they were expecting her body around November. They called her in December and said, hey, they called her daughter and said, we're expecting your mother's body. And she said, yeah, well, she's in the kitchen making cookies, so she won't be there. But I mean, that was just a couple of months when you see the transition. So can we reverse it when the body starts to degenerate? And what I love is to work with doctors who think outside the box. And Dr. Densky is one of the doctors that I've been working with for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. And he used other things in the office in the past. So what he does is he's actually a chiropractic physician, but he works with neuropathy, which is, we know how bad it is. If anybody suffered from neuropathy, and the tingling and the pain in your legs and your feet and your fingers, it's a terrible thing to live through. But he also works with scoliosis and gut health. So imagine that those are the things that work together in his clinic. Isn't that interesting that gut health is involved in that? But he said, we really see the physiological changes because we do the testing. Numbers don't lie when you have them, when you have a blood test or when you have a urine test. The numbers don't lie. They just are what they are. And so, cool, right? Telomeres, yay. We could talk cell biology all day long. It's like, I'm such a research geek that's the thing that jazzes me up. Who would have thought? Because I was totally not that person when I was in school, but that's the way I am now. And so when we also talked about cleansing and why cleansing is so important. And we're talking cellular cleansing. There's different kinds of cleansing, and it's a big buzzword now. But to really be able to get through not only the water-soluble toxicity, the fat-soluble toxicity, where the toxins are stuck inside of our fat, but also down into the metabolic waste. So really into the third level of inflammation where that takes place. So to reduce that extracellular water and inflammation that sits around the outside of the cell. Now there's good water and bad water. There's intracellular water, which feeds the cell and gives us life and sparks the cell. And we want lots and lots of intracellular water, but it's that extracellular water where that yuck and the goo and the extra inflammation and the metabolic waste. And imagine not brushing your teeth for 20 years. That's what's sitting inside that extracellular water. Gross, right? So to cellular cleanse, we can rid the body of dangerous impurities. We can reduce our fat cells safely and effectively and long-term. It cleans the blood, even the smallest capillaries. And we know that, fingers and toes and eyes carry the smallest capillaries. So when you really start to see the body degenerate, sometimes you'll see eyesight go, you'll see fingers and toes start to get numb and have issues. We actually see people who lose their eyesight completely or lose fingers and toes, and it can even get worse than that. But we want to even see the smallest little teeny capillaries get healed to help the body absorb more easily. So we're putting in really great things that we want to absorb and have our body heal. But if we can't absorb because our cells are too gummed up, then a lot of that good stuff ends up passing right through our system and drops into the toilet. And so we have really expensive pee a lot of times. But also to improve our gut health is so important. Everything is going to come back to the gut. Every single thing that we do is going to come back to healing the gut. And, once upon a time, we had real air and real food and real water. And now we just kind of live in this toxic soup where everything is a little bit polluted. And we have to really work hard to keep ourselves healed and clean. And this was one of the big things that sort of woke me up like 13 years ago when I first saw this was, so this little picture over on the left of the Newsweek magazine, that's a fat cell. And that red thing with the little hair inside it, that's a toxin. And so what we know is that our body's natural physiological reaction to toxicity is our liver doesn't know what to do with it. Our kidneys don't know what to do with it. Our pancreas doesn't know what to do with it. So it ends up back in the bloodstream. And eventually, because our fat is our friend, even though we think it's not, our fat is our friend, it will take that toxicity and enrobe that toxicity inside of the fat. So it doesn't end up in our organs or in our brain or somewhere where it's really going to do bad stuff to us. And what we see from that is that our fat cells get bigger. We gain weight. We don't like it that our butts get bigger, even though it's really doing us a favor, right? So what we do is we start to eat celery and carrots and go, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. So I live on celery and carrots and I go to the gym and I shrink my fat cell down, but I never deal with the toxicity. And so inevitably what happens is we get to a point. Has anybody ever done a plateau sort of diet or yo-yoed where you lost and then gained and then lost and then gained? This is the huge reason why. Because our bodies get to a point where we lose, we're doing really great. We probably aren't feeling so hot because we're on a diet, D-I-E, diet. And we're probably reducing our calories a little much and our energy's a little low. But we're feeling okay because we're dropping some weight. And then all of a sudden it stops. And it starts to go the other way. We're like, wait a minute, I'm still eating celery and carrots. I'm still going to the gym. Like, what is going on here? And so what we've learned is that the body goes into this crazy sort of fat overload mode. It's like an alert, boop, boop, boop. Because what happens, we shrink the fat cell down, the toxicity gets released back into the bloodstream. Now we have all this crazy toxicity running around our bloodstream. Pancreas goes into crazy alert mode, and the pancreas and the liver start to pump out more fat to make our fat cells bigger again so it can reabsorb the toxicity. Now we've sort of lived on a diet where we've reduced calories. Our body's probably lived off our lean muscle a little bit. Now we've gained fat back because our body has gone into this alert mode where it's pumping out more fat. Now we, on the other side of our diet, have less lean muscle and more fat percentage. Ugh, not a good place to be, but we see it happen over and over. But it's a really good explanation of why we see somebody start out at 18% body fat and end up at 28%. Or start out at 28 and then go to 36. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. But when we deal with the toxicity first, so when we can go in and actually cellularly cleanse and take that toxicity out first, as we shrink, the toxicity doesn't get released into our bloodstream because it's already been released. So we're able to not only keep the weight off, but keep our fat cells reduced. And also, we've reduced the inflammation that lives around our cells. And so all of that puffy inflammation that lives in, our cheeks and our wrists and our ankles and our hips that really cause us discomfort. Oh yeah. And there in our little gobblers down here. Yeah. All of that stops to cause issue. And when that goes away, guess what? Sleep gets better too, because we don't snore. So great for hubbies who are snoring. For sure. So cool. I wanted to show you guys this little blurb. I'm just going to show you a second of it so you can see it. So let me switch over here and see if you guys can hear this. I hope that you can. So this is what happens when you cleanse your blood with our cellular cleanse.
This is the ideal person's blood. Nice and round and hydrated, and the little white blood cell in the middle doing work, checking on each of them, making sure they're healthy. There's someone with a challenge, possibly too much sugar. After the cleanse, everything's hydrated and round. There's someone with an even deeper challenge. All of the cells seem to be stuck together and a little translucent. Looks like that they're not stuck like they were before. This person possibly has eaten too much meat. There's too much fat in the bloodstream. That's the triglycerides you see there in the back. Little white blood cell there doing its job. This person might have been exposed to something. Suddenly his blood cells are in serious trouble. Same person after his 11-day experience.
So you get the idea, right? There's quite a few of them there, but you get the idea of what we're talking about when we talk about cleaning the cell. That's what we're talking about. And so that is an 11-day system that was used for those pictures, and there's actually other things involved other than just the cleanse. We can chat about that if anybody wants to, but to include the cleanse and what we're talking about for reducing inflammation, it's great. And you can see really that's the huge piece of the puzzle, is that cellular cleanse. And then has anybody ever heard of an adaptogen? Good. Okay, so it's a natural substance considered to help the body adapt to stress and exert a normalizing effect upon the bodily processes. But what's so great about this blend of adaptogens, the wolfberry, the eleuthero, rhodiola, ashwagandha, bacopa, and schizanda, is that they are specifically put together based on their properties to protect the body from oxidative stress. So it's all that stress. The stress that's on the heart, liver, and kidneys, it actually helps to nourish, to decrease the feelings of fatigue and exhaustion. And I know as we're going through this whole healing ourselves from this chronic discomfort, do you know that chronic inflammation can actually be reduced by exercise? But here's the thing. Like, we go, okay, that's great. Thank you for telling me to go exercise, but I feel lousy. My joints hurt. I can't stand up. I can't sit down. I can't sleep. I can't do anything that makes me, that give me any sort of movement for any long period of time because I feel so awful and I have no energy. So thank you very much for telling me to go exercise, right? But what this can actually do is actually help your body decrease that feeling of fatigue and exhaustion, so you can do some movement, so you can get some extra exercise in, even if it's just a little bit of walking. And it will actually strengthen your resistance to stress. So it's actually, this blend is actually not only clinically proven to reduce the cellular stress on your cells, but actually also supports a healthy gut. Like, really? So cool. That we're neutralizing free radicals. So we have all of these crazy little free radicals running around our system, creating havoc and increasing our inflammation. So when we can help neutralize that and help the body reduce cellular stress, that's a huge deal. We call it the cell spark plug. I call it my happy juice because as I started to go through the change, don't tell anybody. It was a mood also lifter for me. So it helped to reduce the stress on my cells. So I didn't constantly feel like I was on edge. And because of that, we call it our happy juice. And as I share that with women, they go, oh yeah, totally. You couldn't pry it out of my cold dead hands because it's my favorite thing, right? So what about NO? Anybody ever heard of nitric oxide? And so it's so funny because I'll say this to people and they'll go, nitrous oxide, isn't that the stuff you put in race cars and make it go fast? Right, but not the same thing. This is nitric oxide. It's actually the miracle molecule. And it is just, it's such an incredible, oh my gosh, it's such an incredible signaling molecule for your body. So I'm going to leave that up there, but this is the book. So I have that little book up there. And if you ever want to read more on nitric oxide, I don't know if you can see it. Up there it is. The nitric oxide solution. That's the one I had up here. That's the same copy. I think it's just a different, must be a new print. I want to share with you what nitric oxide is. And so I'm going to read right from the book so you can understand in their words, because this, I've learned so much from these guys. So imagine for a moment a miracle molecule that could dramatically improve your health. If you could increase the amount of the molecule in your body, so would you? Now this molecule won't turn water into wine or raise anyone from the dead. It's not that kind of miraculous. But biologically speaking, it's definitively a miracle maker because it can prevent high blood pressure, a disease that damages your heart, brain, and kidneys. Keep the arteries young and flexible, so important. Prevent slow or reverse the buildup of artery clogging arterial plaques. Help stop the formation of artery clogging blood clots, the result of plaques bursting and spilling their contents into the bloodstream. Lower cholesterol. By doing all of the above, reduce your risk of heart attack, stroke, the #1 and #3 killers of Americans. But this molecule has more miracles to perform. It can also reduce the risk of diabetes and disastrous diabetic complications such as chronic kidney disease, blindness, hard to heal foot and leg ulcers, and amputations. Limit the swelling of pain and arthritis and boost the power of pain relieving drugs. Reverse erectile dysfunction. It's like a little blue pill and a little beet, because you know that's where it comes from. Calm the choking inflammation of asthma, protect your bones from osteoporosis, help provide the mood-lifting power behind antidepressant medications, assist the immune system in killing bacteria, limit skin damage from the sun. There may also be no disease process where this miracle molecule does not have a protective role. So what is it? What you're reading right now is a signal, a message, a communication that is moving from the page to your eyes and deep into your brain, where an energized collection of brain cells or neurons makes sense out of it all. And that process happens fast, in nanoseconds, in less than the blink of an eye. Nitric oxide works just like that. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule. A molecule, of course, is a combination of atoms held together by electrical charges. Water is H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Nitric oxide is NO, 1 atom of nitrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. It's as simple as it can be. So simple, in fact, that it's a gas, not a liquid or a solid. When it's created and released, this gas easily and quickly penetrates nearby membrane cells, sending it signals in less than a second. Nitric oxide signals arteries to relax and expand, immune cells to kill bacteria and cancer cells, brain cells to communicate with each other. In fact, nitric oxide sends crucial signals within every cell, tissue, and organ of the body. Oh, cool, right? So good stuff. That was just off one page. There's a whole book of of things that it can help. And so when we talk about getting nitric oxide in, it comes from a lot of natural places. And one of them is beets. So red beets in particular. And the problem with that is to eat the amount of beets that you would need to create the nitric oxide needed in your system to actually heal it would be so much. And so they actually created this NOx, it's called NOx, but it's a nitric oxide supplement. So they actually initially created it for athletes to help increase their performance. But what it does is it increases oxygen in the system. It does all of those things that we just talked about inside the body. So when we're looking at increasing oxygen in the system, how amazing to help the body work at a different level. And this is the most significant source of NO on the market right now. It's pretty cool. So imagine instead of, giving somebody a little blue pill that potentially could have heart damaging issues, we could give them something that could actually help their body heal. And you think of it in so many different ways. I would recommend getting the book, especially if you or anybody you know or love is suffering from any of those things, so you can really understand what nitric oxide does, because it's pretty amazing stuff. So when they did the clinical studies, and I don't think I got that slide in here, but the clinicals, actually, you could see how the body started with almost no nitric oxide function. And just through doing a few of these, it started to improve right away. It was funny because we had little like test strips where you spit on them and it shows the nitric oxide in your system. We took it to the gym and started testing guys at the gym. Most of them tested almost like they had none in their body, like it didn't even change color. And you would think these guys are, they're training really hard. They must have really good systems going on. Their bodies are, a lot of times it's a little bit of a Halloween costume, because what you see on the outside is not really what's going on the inside. And so as we helped them through, put them on some of the SNOX, we saw that it started to improve. Not only did they see that their workouts improved, their recovery improved, but also how they felt in every aspect of their life also improved. So pretty cool, right? So the ABCs. So this is the ABCDs of TDOS repair and inflammation reduction. It's pretty simple. Cleansing. There's our cleanse for life. So that's the cleanse that we talked about. That's the cellular cleanse. The amped NOx, the product B isogenesis, and the ionic supreme. So we call this our ABCDs. Pretty cool. All right. I'm going to leave that up there, but we can put everybody back on screen so we can chat.
Yeah, I want to know if anybody has any questions. So I'm unmuting everybody. I
hope that was helpful. Did you learn one thing that you didn't know already? Cool. Awesome.
Yep. Alicia, I'm unmuting you. Alicia, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, how much are these products?
Okay, we'll go over that so you can understand how it all works. And then what's cool is also as we work through the products, it's not just like, here, we're just going to shove a whole bunch of products at you. What we do, so not only do Michele and I coach with everyone one-on-one. So we work with you to make sure that what's happening for you is actually beneficial. We don't just go, here, take this stuff, and we're going to disappear, and you get a box and we disappear. So we support. We have a not only one-on-one, but we also have a private community, and everything has a money-back guarantee. So, but we'll go over the prices in just a second. So tell me one thing you learned that you didn't know already.
Oh, the nitric oxide.
Cool,
and
right?
I crave beets all the time. I crave them. So now I know why. Yeah. And what else did I learn? Oh, the fat, when you're fat and then the toxins reabsorb into your system, and then your pancreas starts to reproduce fat to contain all the toxins. My guides are constantly working on my pancreas and always telling me that my pancreas has got issues. So that explained that to me. That was cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really surprised me too, is the fat thing. Because I was never heavy until about 10 years ago. And then all of a sudden I gained weight, and it's like, I can't get a handle on it. It's like, what the hell is going on? And excuse my language, but, and it's just like, it just keeps like, I lose weight and I gain weight, and I lose weight and I gain weight. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on? And that totally explains it, because I got sick because I was living in a house with mold, which totally affected my gut health, and everything just like was a domino. Everything collapsed, and absolutely fascinating with that. So when we lose weight, all those toxins are being put back in the body. We have to clean and cleanse the cells to do this. And that was just like, oh my God. And I found the Isogenics products, and they're so amazing. And it's simple and it's easy. It's all there. And I do other things too. You know, a lot of you guys know that I'm a big proponent of CBD as well, for pain and all that kind of stuff. But the Isogenics products, this little package we got here, is amazing. And it's gotten me out of kind of that downward spiral, you know, where it was like, oh my God, I'm losing weight and I'm gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, getting a little bit healthier. But when I started doing the telomere stuff, I call it the telomeres. It's the telomeres. All of a sudden it was like, oh, wait a minute. And it took about 3 weeks. But all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm feeling better. One of my big things for me is when I'm having a flare up with that Hashimoto's, I get that butterfly rash, and it is bright, and it's like sores on there. It's barely there anymore, and I never get the big flare ups anymore. Something is healing at a deep, deep level, and it's changing my life. And I have energy too. You know, before I could barely get out of bed. Literally. I would have days where I wouldn't get out of bed but to pee. And now changed. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's made a huge difference. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That's why I asked JoJo to come and share this and more stuff. We have a lot more. I have a lot more. But we want to just like get this to you guys because there's so many people that are suffering and literally suffering. I was suffering. And you don't have to. There's answers. There's things that can be done. And it's easy. You know, it's not like you have to change everything. It's just really about paying attention to cleansing and clearing and healing your body. And it starts with the gut. And what are you doing with the gut? Right? So, anybody else have questions? I get up, I'm like so excited about this stuff, I can hardly stand it.
I just think it's really funny because for over 20 years, the doctors couldn't diagnose what was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
They would test me for Lyme's, they would test me for RA, rheumatoid arthritis, they would test me for hypothyroidism, and they test me for lupus.
Mm-hmm.
For over 20 years, they would only test me for those 4 things. Wouldn't listen to any other symptoms, yada, yada, yada. And my doctor once quipped to me, oh, it's probably just something you ate with all my gut issues. She was right. It turns out I have severe food allergies. But why is the gut always the last thing that they look at?
Because they're not nutritionists.
No.
And now I'm hoping that as we get more and more information about how much the microbiome actually is functioning, they really have just found it. They didn't even know really that they knew that we had gut bacteria, but they didn't know that we have this entire whole other sort of system that runs the body. And so I'll share with you something that's kind of crazy that, so one of the Italian scientists that we were working with, this was what he said, and it kind of freaked me out, and it kind of makes you feel weird for a second. So just hold on to your seat. That we probably have more bugs, I'll call them bugs, little colonies, that we are probably 90% other organism. So we're like little JoJo and Michele and Elizabeth colonies walking around. Right?
They're like our minions.
Yeah, seriously. That's how much, like, it kind of feels weird, but then you go, okay, so I just need to support my little guys that are supporting me. And when they're really understanding how much and when we started learning how much gut health had to do with brain function, every single time we started looking at it, we could see that there was a correlation. There was something wrong with the gut. There was Crohn's or diverticulitis, or there was something going on, celiac disease. There was constant bloating and inflammation. There was always something. And as we've healed that, we see people all the time go, wow, I just feel better. And you go, wow, okay, that's cool. You just feel better. Right. But now, I mean, we know why. Now we know why. And that's cool. So are you feeling, yeah. So now and I've been working with them for 13 years. So almost my whole entire time that I've been involved in nutrition, I have worked with this company. So I've seen what they've done. I've watched the science on the back end. And that's why I'm still here. And there's a lot of other things that we definitely believe in as far as support. And we're really looking at, as far as me personally, not as a part of Isogenics, but just as me personally, looking more into what CBD can do for the body. And I think that it's just one more step of something that can support. So absolutely, I think that's part of the next step. And so I'll go back to share my screen real quick. So, and there's my phone number and Michelle's phone number. So if anybody, and our email. So if anybody wants to write that down, because you want to.
Okay. And Dana, you had a question there, honey. What?
Oh, sorry, Dana.
Well, I'm writing your numbers down first, because I really need help yesterday. I have Crohn's since I was 7 years old, and I am now dependent for 30 years on pain opiates. And now they're thinking the opiates are causing the severe pain I'm having in my gut.
Most likely.
I was given Isogenics, but in the box, and here you go, kind of thing. And I didn't take it seriously. I was kind of scared that it would mess with my Crohn's. I need coaching and I need help.
Okay.
I think between this and I signed up for the medical marijuana, I'm hoping that helps as a pain helper too. But
okay, Dana,
God brought me here today for a reason.
Okay, Dana, let's talk about the CBD oil too. The medical marijuana is different than the CBD oil?
Okay, that's what I'm signed up for.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten a card.
Okay. And we'll talk about it. I'll talk to you about it
privately.
Because I've got an amazing CBD oil that is not very expensive.
Okay.
The
cost of the Isogenics was, but I don't know who I was dealing with. And like I said, she just handed me all this stuff and said, if you need help, call me. And of course I didn't call her. And I didn't realize how important this stuff was.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of times, because the big thing that people look at is, I just want to lose weight. Like, that's the big thing that people look at with Isogenics. But what they don't realize is how it actually helps the body to balance and heal. And so it's just a different, it's looking at the other side of it.
Yeah.
And so, but we can help you through that. And so I'll show you what the system that we put together. So obviously there's always the money back guarantee on this.
I know that.
But then we offer the free coaching and support. And we have a free private community. And Michele and I will be here. And we also have other people on the team that are here to support as well.
Okay.
And then so the ABCD pack, there's the price breakdown for that. And then we can, look at budget and things to help you through. But to do a full month of this is what we just talked about.
Yeah.
This would be a basic breakdown.
Okay.
And so when you give us a call, we can chat it over and.
Yeah, like tonight. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to go to the hospital. That's how bad I am.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
honey.
Okay.
I'm so glad we found you and you found us. I'm so happy.
Will you see any difference in a month?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to be different. Everybody will be different. And so it's, and healing process is going to be a little bit different for everybody. And so when you think about taking something that could possibly be affecting your gut health for 30 years,
Yeah.
there's probably some leaky gut problems going on there. I mean, it's not good for intestinally.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a matter of, being able to rebuild some of that. And,
Right.
and
Scar
so it's a
tissue.
process.
Yeah, a lot of scar tissue and narrowing.
Mm-hmm.
I have it bad.
Yeah, so it's a process for sure. And so we can work together to figure out what would be best for you.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So did you get our numbers written down?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, perfect. All right, well.
And Sherry, did you have any questions, honey?
I just wanted to say, I wish I had invited lots of people to hear this because it was really, really great information. I did learn that I didn't realize that it was Dr. Bill Andrews who actually did discover the enzyme telomerase. I didn't know that.
He discovered it in the human body. So the Blackburn crew was the ones who actually discovered that it even existed, but he was the one who discovered it in the human body. Mm-hmm.
That counts.
Yeah.
So there is two sides of it, right? There is two sides because they also did win for the original discovery, which was quite a while ago. And but it was him that. Lise, do you want to add something in?
Well, you know, real quick with Sherry, I want to tell you.
Well, I think she wants to answer. Yeah.
We are recording this, and I'm going to send you a recording so you can share it with your friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody knows, because this has changed my life. I mean, it has gotten me up and out of bed and living my life again, because I'm going to tell you guys, and this is going on the recording, I considered suicide at one point. Okay, so this has gotten me up and out and living and feeling good and back to having a life and having a future. So that's my testimony for these products and the CBD oil too. But it's made a huge difference. So now I'm totally on record for saying that.
I got you on record.
Lisa, hon, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're totally fine. I just want to say I'm kind of with you, Michele. When I started ISA, it totally changed my life. I have chronic fatigue and Epstein-Barr. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't wake up. I was always tired. If I sat down in the middle of a noisy parade, I would pass out. And just the hurting and the aches, and also fibromyalgia. So a lot of different issues. And I'll tell you, the products just completely just woke my body up. It's like I don't hurt anymore. I have more energy, and I just feel alive again. So it's really good stuff. It's just changed my life. So
yeah.
Thanks, Lisa. I thought you were going to respond to Sherry about the.
I was just going to say, I believe it's all divine.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
So cool.
We do.
Yeah.
And so with that, before we go, I'm going to just say one more time that we are not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent anything. We are just here to give the information. We believe the body is the miracle, and when you give it what it needs, then it can do its job.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you guys so much for being here with us.
Yep. Yeah, and you guys have our contact information. You guys also all probably got here through the invites that were sent out on Facebook. Come be my Facebook friend. I have a Facebook page that is for chronic illness. And if you guys, it's not a page, it's actually a group. And I do a lot of stuff in there too, just sharing information about this. Let me tell you what the name of it is before it's, because I just changed the name of it.
You've changed it twice.
I did. I changed it and I changed it again. It's called Chronic Illness, Fatigue, and Discomfort, Autoimmune Awareness and Health. So it's got a lot of stuff on it, but it's a really good group because I share a lot of information about a lot of different things. I share the information about this as well. And come over there and join us because we're doing a lot of good stuff. And it's good to have a support group Like JoJo and I will be there to help you guys and support you guys. And then it's fun to have a place where, like, if you're feeling crappy during the day, that you can go and look through stuff and, you know, read what people are posting and sharing. And it's so important to have group and community around you to support you and love you while you're doing all this. So I invite you to come on over there and join us, and let's play, because I'm all about play. You know, we might feel like crap, but it doesn't mean we can't laugh and still enjoy life. And I want to bring that for you guys too. So I invite you guys over there.
Michele?
And, yes, ma'am.
Can you repeat the site, the Facebook? You were taken out for a few minutes.
Oh, sorry. Let me open it up. Okay, it's chronic illness.
Okay.
Fatigue.
What is it?
Fatigue. F-A-T-I-G.
Oh, fatigue.
Yep.
Okay.
And discomfort.
Okay.
Autoimmune. Awareness. And health.
All right.
And if you put my name into Facebook, I think this comes up too. And
Okay.
I'm Michele with one L. And I have a couple other pages too. I have Soulful Living Tribe. You guys are welcome to come over. We do a little bit more spiritual. We talk about crystals and kind of the more spiritual woo-woo side of things. And I'm a spiritual teacher as well, so I have all kinds of classes, do online classes. So there's that too.
I'm interested.
Awesome. Come play.
Yeah.
Come play. I am here to serve. And there's a reason I went through what I went through and why I've survived it. And
Me too. I feel the same way, but I haven't survived it yet.
Yeah, you did. You're here.
I found you. And I wasn't invited. I literally found you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We're meant to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All righty. Everybody feel good?
Yeah. JoJo, I'm going to call you right after this.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, everybody take a nice deep breath. And just take a minute and just feel your body again. And I want you guys to incorporate this in your daily practice, into your day. It's just imagine every cell in your body and just say, I love you. Just, I love you. I love you. This body is the vehicle for our sacred Holy Spirit to travel around in this earthly plane. It's so important that we love this body, that we love this vehicle, that we take care of it. And so, body, I love you. I am going to help you in every way I can to be healthy and filled with youthful vitality. And I invite all of you to take another nice deep breath, just breathing in. And if you wish, you can repeat after me. I am sacred. I am holy.
I am holy.
And I am divine.
I am divine.
I'm
So it is. Yeah.
Sacred. I'm holy. I'm divine.
Yeah. Got to remind yourselves that you are sacred and holy creations by whatever belief system is wrapped around that. No matter what it is, you are sacred and holy. You are sacred and holy. So blessings, everybody. JoJo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody, for everything.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for letting me pop in late.
Glad you were here.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Call us. And for anybody who's watching this afterwards, please contact JoJo or me, and we are here for you. Whatever you need, give us a call.
Hey, Dana, if you're still there, you can shut the recording off if you want.